Imagine putting about 125 pounds of pressure per square inch on your toes, mainly your big toe. To put this into perspective, when you fill up your car tires, you're filling them up from about 30 to 35 psi depending. Well, this 125 pounds of pressure per square inch is what dancers experience when they're dancing on point. So if any of you have ever been to a ballet before, you've probably seen this. If not, you will probably be dragged to a ballet at some point in your life. And if you're like me, you're probably wondering, why are the dancers dancing like this? But then also, how? How is this even possible without injury? Well, I'm a dance minor, so this is something that I'm very interested in, and I've been dancing my whole life, so this is actually something that I have experienced and done myself. So today I want to give you a brief history of pointe and the pointe shoe, how that came about. And then I'm going to talk about 3 of the main components of a pointe shoe, and then also what these components do to help enable this type of action. So first, a brief history of pointe. Starting in about the late 1700s, dancers wanted to get a sense of weightlessness and floating across the stage. To help do this, companies started using machineries and wires to help suspend the dancers above the stage. They later started developing a way that they could sew and reinforce the bottom of the pointe shoes to help the dancers dance on their toes so that they could get the same sort of weightlessness and floating without the machinery that came with it. Since then, over the past 2 centuries, this has evolved a lot, and now you can buy pointe shoes from a number of different manufacturers, and they are made a little bit stronger and more developed to help support the foot and decrease the injury and the pain that normally would come with the dancing on pointe. So, first, the 3 components of a pointe shoe. One of the most important ones is going to be this bottom part at the base, which is called the toe box. This is what the dancer is going to be dancing on. It's made out of some glue, fabric, and sometimes plastic to give a lot of strength. The next component, made similarly to the toe box, is going to be the shank. This runs from the toe all the way to the back of the shoe and is sandwiched in between the sole and the inside of the pointe shoe. So it's not actually seen, but it's going to be the hard part that makes up the sole of the foot. The last portion of the pointe shoe is going to be the elastic here in the back, as well as the ribbons, which the dancers normally sew onto the pointe shoe themselves so that they align with the certain dancer's ankle. So those are going to be the 3 most important parts of a pointe shoe. But now for why they work the way that they do and how they are developed. So the first portion, the toe box over here, this is going to be for balance and comfort actually. So the increased surface area that this toe box gives on the ground is going to help the dancers stay on point for longer and do more while they're up on point. Along with that, there is a slight curve on the inside of the box that aligns with the toes of the dancer. This is going to help distribute the pressure that the body is putting on the toes through all the toes so that not all of it is being distributed onto the big toe. This helps decrease the pain that's going to come with dancing on your toes. The next is going to be the shank that goes up the back of the pointe shoe. This is for support and flexibility, which is a little contradicting, but for 2 reasons. One, it gives support, so if you have a very flexible foot but not a strong foot, you get overbending, which is going to be a really strong curve in your foot with all the pressure on it, and this can cause injury if not properly supported, which is what the shank does. Too much support, though, is going to give you this flat look on the back of the shoe, which is not what a dancer typically wants. They typically want that little bit of a pointed look, even on point. So this gives a perfect combination of the 2 that gives you enough support so you don't have the overbending, but then it also is going to give you a little bit of flexibility that you can break into the shoe so that you get this ideal curve of the shoe to prevent injury and then give you the pointed look. The last section is going to be the elastic and the ribbons that are tied onto the back of the pointe shoe. I think of the elastic as a seatbelt. This is going to keep your foot in the pointe shoe so you're not falling out of it while dancing, which can of course cause some injury. And then you also have the ribbons that get tied around the ankle. These are kind of synonymous to wearing a belt like around your core when doing squats or any sort of weightlifting. It adds a little bit of extra pressure and stability to that joint, which is where a lot of your power is coming from for hopping up onto the pointe shoe. And so this is kind of where a lot of injury would come, is from sprained ankles or falling ankles. And this helps to give the strength and stability that you need in your ankle so that you don't get that injury and it's easier to get up onto point. So that is going to be a brief history and the build of a point shoe. It started in the late 1700s and in the past 2 centuries has evolved quite a bit. You have the 3 main points of a point shoe, which are going to be the toe box, the shank, and then the elastic and ribbons that are going to be on the back. And together, all 3 of these things are going to provide the stability, support, and a little bit more comfort for that shoe and that foot to prevent the injury and decrease the pain that most dancers would typically have felt on point shoe back when it was first developed. So now the next time that you go to a ballet, if that ever happens, you will get a little bit more of a sense of why that's going on stage and how it's possible for the dancers to do such a long performance, normally 2 to 3 times a day, on their toes without injury. This also attests to how strong the smallest bones of our body in our toes are, that they can withstand 125 psi with honestly a little bit of injury.